Leafs,
NHL,
rumors,
prospects,
banter,
and everything in between.
This is the SHanaclan Podcast
with Hobson
and
Lugtsy.
Welcome back to the SHanaclan Podcast. I'm Lugtsy here with Hobson. This is episode 20. This is a big episode for us because this is on the eve of battle, on the eve of the NHL trade deadline for the 2021 season. Some people say it's the 2020-2021 season. I say it's the 2021 season because it kind of got to go with the MLB format with that one. So before we kick things off, we've got a big show lined up for you guys. We're going to be talking about the Leafs. We're going to be talking about the trade deadline, some big pieces that could be possibly moved. But first things first, Hobson, you've got a new job starting at CKTB. How's that going for you, man?
It's been pretty solid. I was pretty grateful to get the job opportunity through our beloved radio TA, Steve Martin. It's his job. Basically, I'm just doing freelance production work for their station. It's a news talk station in St. Catharines. I basically I go in every other weekend and I operate the board on my own, make sure the levels are good. I queue up interviews. I post audio to the website. It's pretty hectic, but it's a good learning experience. And it's actually really interesting because on the Saturday, the shows that I take care of, there's one show that goes from 6 until 9, and it's just a basic talk radio show. It's called the Matt Holmes Show, and he's doing it remote. So I am the only one in the building. Wow. And he is at home. I talk to him through the board and just kind of like communicate with him. But yeah, he just does a basic talk show, and he does that Saturdays and Sundays. He's a pretty nice guy. So then on Saturdays from 9 until 10, there's a sports show. And then from 10 until 12 on Saturdays, there is a show that is run. It's the only radio show in Canada that's run by 2 Indigenous hosts. And It's an Indigenous themed show. And it's actually really interesting. Both those guys are super nice. They actually come into the building and separate rooms for any, just to cover my ass here. We're not in the same room when this is happening, but yeah, super nice guys. And then on the Sunday, it's this Matt Holmes guy again from 6 till 9. And then from 9 until 12, we pick up a feed from Toronto, and it's just a trivia show. So I don't really have to do anything for that since it's not actually our station. I just kind of sit back and make sure everything's on time. Right. I remember last week I was listening in, and one of the questions they asked was, who did the St. Louis Blues beat in the 2019 Cup final? And then someone called in and they're like, Washington. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, no. And then they said no, hangs up. Another caller comes in and he says, Pittsburgh. And I'm like, no, man, I want to call in. Come on. Like, guys, this is so painful. And then they reveal it, and I'm just like, God damn it. Like, I should be calling into this fucking show, man. But yeah, so last weekend I was behind the board by myself for the first time. For the other, I've done 4 shifts total there, and the first 3, Steve was in there to just kind of act as my safety net and make sure I didn't fuck anything up. And,
yeah. Yeah,
and
Steve's the TA for us at the BRTF program.
Yeah. Absolute legend. I love the guy.
Yeah, and he's a hell of a guy. He's actually a good guy. Yeah.
Very good guy.
Yeah.
And I was on the Sunday, I was doing the show by myself because, like I said, all I have to do is worry about that first show in the morning, and then and then from 9 till 12 or whatever, it's the trivia show. So I don't have to worry about that. I just kind of everything's going somewhat smoothly. There were a couple hiccups and everything, but for the most part, everything's fine.
Good.
And then after Matt wraps up his last bit, he had briefly just brought me on. He was like, oh yeah, so we got Alex producing the show today. So I turned on my mic and I was like, oh yeah, thanks for having me. Just kind of shot the shit with him back and forth just to kind of close off the show. And then afterwards, I thought I turned off my mic and I was using the preview function. Was not the case. So I sat there and I just shot the shit with Matt for a good minute while the top of the hour newscast was playing.
Oh,
and I'm talking to Matt. I'm just like, yeah, so thanks for putting up with me today, man. Yeah, I tried my best. I think I did all right. And then there's another monitor to the left of me, and I look over, and it's the text line for people to text in, and it's just like 15 messages, people saying, your mic's on. Your mic's on. I can hear you. I can hear you guys talking. Turn your mic off. Mic's on. I can't hear news. And I was like, fuck. I didn't actually realize this until I think I left the room for like 10 minutes after, just while news and sports and stuff were running. I left the room to go do something, and I came back and I looked at the text line and I was like, oh
wow.
Well, yeah. Luckily enough, the station director, the big boss man, is pretty chill, and he recognizes that every single person in the radio industry has left their mic hot at least once.
Yeah.
So I didn't get in shit for it or anything. Also, there's an alarm that you have to set when you walk into the building, right? So I set that alarm when I got into the building. Turns out there's an alarm at the back of the building, near where the studios are, and if there's a staircase that goes upstairs, and all the washrooms are up there. And I did not know that if you were to go upstairs, you also had to set that alarm at the back. So I start walking up the stairs to go to the washroom, and all of a sudden the alarm just goes off. And I almost shit myself right there on that staircase. I don't think I've been so scared. I haven't been scared like that in a long time. And
sorry, Matt, I got to go home. I got change your pants.
No, this was luckily after Matt's show had finished. I don't know if I would have been able to handle the chaos of that happening during a show, but it was. It's been a good time so far. Made some rookie mistakes, but live and learn.
Yeah. Honestly, that's just the part in learning, right? And you just pray and hope that your boss is understanding of it, right? Like, how the hell could you mess up? You're such an idiot. And it's like, first of all, never done this before. Second of all, fuck off.
Yeah, no. Everyone I met has been pretty chill. So there's that at least. But yeah.
I'm happy for you, man. Like that's great. Like you just got a schmooze or a schmooze. That's the word.
Schmooze, yes.
Yeah. You get to schmooze, make some connections for the career. So that's good for you, man.
Yeah.
I feel kind of like a proud dad because like I gave you the light to the BRTF program.
You did.
I was like, it's a great program, man.
I was considering Conestoga, man. I said I said Conestoga College has a good broadcasting program. I want to know what your program's like, and you're like, buddy. You're like, buddy.
Niagara College. Yeah. Like anyone watching this right now, Niagara College is like top 5 in all of Canada with its BRTF program. Yeah, I'm not even biased. It's just a fact.
It is. The profs and the insight that you get and the hands-on experience. You gotta like BRTF is absolutely amazing program.
Yeah. So moving on now, we've got some shout outs to make. We normally do it at the end of the show, but we just wanted to get it going right now.
Different kind of shout out.
Yeah, different show. We're totally revamping our marketing now. A brand new show, fresh out the womb, sopping wet. Caleb will like that one. 3 Over Par podcast. It's 3 guys talking about golf, life, relationships, maybe religion, who knows. It's Alex Vanderlaan, Bubba Vandermeulen, and Caleb Bradley. It's a great show. I've listened to it, and I had a lot of fun listening to them just shooting the breeze. They're already a lot of fun to listen to and to hang out with, and I'm excited to see where that show takes them. And then another shout out goes to Pucks and Deep. I'm wearing their sweater right now. That's with Josh Coleman and Adam. I forget his last name though.
Adam Lesko.
So that's another really entertaining show. Plug those podcasts. Give them a listen. They're really just a bunch of good guys.
I will go on record right now and say that I am probably the furthest thing from a golf guy, which is why we've barely touched on the Masters, and that's like the biggest story in the sports world right now. But I was dialed into that podcast. Those guys are a lot of fun to listen to. And what I respect about what they're doing is that they're not devoting themselves to the market of people who are golf nuts. Right. They're trying to make it so that people like myself who don't know shit about golf and hit for a fucking average of like 7 or 8 over par on every hole. They make it so that guys like me can actually be interested and actually kind of present my own opinions. So they just launched their first episode last week, and it's an absolute banger. So check it out on Spotify, the 3 Over Par podcast. Great show.
Yeah, bunch of beauties, really.
Yeah.
So now moving on. From our last show to now, we have seen a Leafs team that has been able to take over games, capitalize on their chances, maximize those opportunities. Now, since the last show, April 3rd, Toronto has gone 4-0-0. And special thing for Jack Campbell, set a new Leaf record for straight wins to start the season with 10. And now he's also tied Carey Price in the NHL's history for straight wins to start the season at 11 now.
11. He's at
11.
11.
I think the record for like just wins in a row by a goalie is 14. I want to say 14 or
it's 14-0-1. I think that was the record. I forget who held it, but the record was like 14-0-1 to start the season.
Oh, I think it was by Gilles.
Oof, I don't know.
Yeah, in the 70s. It's a record from the 70s. Goalie by the last name of Gilbert, I believe. Not Gilbert Perreault, not the French Connection.
No. Not Gilbert Brûlé.
Yeah, no. Dude, that guy was sucking off the teat of Sidney Crosby in his draft year. Oh my goodness. That dude was mainlining points from Crosby. And it was this guy's sick. Let's draft him. No.
He's like he's like the Evan Rodriguez of that draft class. You remember how after Buffalo drafted Jack Eichel, they signed Evan Rodriguez because he was Jack Eichel's line mate at Harvard or wherever it was. Was it Harvard or Boston? I think it was Boston
College.
Boston. No, was it college or university? I thought it was university, but I might be talking out of my ass. Hold on.
It's a Boston.
It is a Boston school. I'm not going to be able to sleep if I don't figure this out. Boston, yeah, it was Boston University.
Oh, okay.
But either way, same shit. Boston. Yeah. I always get Boston University, Boston College, and Harvard mixed up. But yeah, it's I remember, they signed Evan Rodriguez because he was Eichel's line mate, and he was also putting up disgusting totals. And then Evan Rodriguez went to Buffalo, and then to Pittsburgh, and then to Toronto for a little bit, and then back to Pittsburgh, and he's just kind of been. Yeah.
He's got
sucking off the teat of Jack Eichel for sure.
But yeah, big props to Jack Campbell though. Like that's insane, man.
I'm going to go on the record right now and say my all-time dream guest to have on this podcast is Jack Campbell.
Like he seems nice enough to do it as well. Like he's that kind of guy.
I think we should set a goal. Because obviously, if we shoot for the stars and try and get Austin Matthews on the show, probably not going to happen.
No, that's shooting for the moon. That way, if you miss, you're with the stars, right? That's that whole fortune cookie quote.
But yeah, Jack Campbell, I would love to. I watched his Leaf to Leaf with Jake Muzzin, and I love hearing the two of them talk because Jake Muzzin has such like a Canadian way of talking. He's like, yeah, I was trying to merge on the highway, and then Buddy didn't have his blinker on. So he ain't giving me any clear messages. I don't know where he's going. And then Jack Campbell's just sitting there like, oh, that's tough, buds.
Yeah,
it's bad, buds. It's just like I love listening to those two talk. It's amazing. So yes, I'd love to have Jack Campbell on the show at some point. Jack, this somehow reaches you. Do a couple college kids a favor and join the show, buddy.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on, buds.
Yeah, but I think the Leafs have looked very, very good since their last over the last 4 games, like you said. And I think a big part about what's going on is we're starting to see that Jack Campbell is not perfect, because I think we were all on a high. He got a shutout in his first start back from his was it a shutout in his first start back? I don't remember.
He was away for a month, and then he
came back and got the win right away. I can't remember if it was a shutout, but I know he was injured shutouts. Again. Yeah. So the thing is with Campbell is we're starting to see, like I said, that he is not perfect, because we've had, like, last night wasn't his best game. The 5-3 game wasn't his best game, but I think at the same time, what we're seeing is that he's driving confidence into the team in front of him because of the way he plays. The team just glares with confidence in front of him, because we've seen now there have been games when Jack Campbell has been the deciding factor. The Leafs have played like shit, and if Jack Campbell, he's been standing on his head, and that's the reason they get the win. We've also seen the other side now, where Jack Campbell doesn't necessarily have his best night, but the Leafs pick up the slack and they win. And obviously they won 5-4 last night. They won 5-3 a couple nights ago.
6-5 last night.
Well, are you sure? Yes. I'm pretty sure. Are you sure? Hold on.
It was 6-4 when Hyman scored that empty netter, and then Josh Norris got the empty netter.
The empty netter fucked me up. Yeah, that's right. I forgot. The empty netter always misses me. But yeah,
technically it shouldn't really count.
Same point. Like, point stands. Jack Campbell he did let in 5 goals last night, but he kept the team in the game, and the team in front of him played great. So
no, like, Jack made some actually good saves.
Mm-hmm,
he made a number of really key saves. So, But the one thing I wanted to say though is like a lot of people are bagging on the Leafs power play, and it's just like it's going to come. We know this. We as Leaf fans need to understand that their power play is not going to be bad forever.
Yeah.
Like there's too many options, and there's worse things to worry about than a faulty power play. Like there's one guy that you just need to think about, and then just realize, okay, this is just a funk. That's all it is.
Exactly.
Right? The guy's leading the NHL in goals. That's all you really need to think about.
Oh, who are you talking about?
Yeah, gee, I wonder. Some kid, some cactus loving puppy.
Kid.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
That's the title. That's the title. That's the title of the episode. Cactus loving puppy.
Yeah. So like that's really what I'm saying though. Is like there's better things to worry about. Like the penalty kill, it's pretty solid. The defense has been okay. Like last night, I think is just like the outlier. Games with Ottawa are always crazy.
They're always
always nuts
every single time. Yeah, and you know what? I do agree that the power play will come around.
Yeah,
and I think the reason that it's not being talked about more. I mean, it's being talked about pretty frequently, but I think the reason it's not being talked about more than it already is because the Leafs have played so well throughout this stretch at even strength. So it's not like the power play has been losing them games. Like the power play, sure, it needs to be fixed, and we got to stop giving up these fucking shorthanded goals like Alex Formanson last night, prime example.
That's really what pisses me off, dude.
Yeah. That was a tough goal last night, and obviously not Campbell's fault. I'm sure you're not expecting to have to deal with a breakaway on a power play, but I think if the Leafs had lost games because their power play didn't show up, if they went 0 for 6 on the power play and then they lost 2-1, I think that would be I think that would be more of a cause for concern. But as of now, Leafs are on a hell of a tear right now, and they've been great at even strength. So I like the power play needs to be fixed, but it's not something to be fretting about. I agree with you there.
Yeah. So the one thing I did want to bring up though is Wayne Simmons. His lack of production's a little concerning. Do you think Dubas should supplement that, like acquire more grit to help Wayne out? Or do you think Wayne's just in a bit of a funk right now?
I don't think they're going to acquire any grit, if I'm being honest. No, I mean, I could see them going after a guy with a gritty edge to him, say like a Nick Foligno, someone like that. But I don't think they're going to go out and get like a Kyle Clifford type again.
Oh, true,
I think Wayne Simmons, like he is in a bit of a funk right now, but it's sure. Like we saw him last night in the middle of the scrum. Like he hasn't lost his edge. I think there just hasn't really been, it's more of a thing where you don't want to put the team in a position where they're penalized for making stupid hits or stupid plays like that. Right. I think Wayne Simmons, his production slowed down a little bit, but he's still Wayner and he's still wreaking havoc in front of the net. I think it's, again, just one of those things. The Leafs brought him in for a reason. I think he's going to really make his mark during the playoffs. I personally, I don't think Wayne Simmons is really, I don't think it's something that the Leafs are going to have to worry about come the deadline. I don't think it's a need that they have to address.
Right. And speaking of those addressing the needs, though, is Riley Nash. I really wanted to talk about that with you for just a sec. I think that's so interesting that Dubas buys more cap space, and then he also acquires a player that has been on two separate teams that have knocked the Leafs out of the playoffs. Like,
Brandon Pridham is he's a wizard. He's an absolute wizard. And I don't know. I think he's got to be the most underrated piece of that Maple Leafs brass, because his job is literally to sit down and look for loopholes in the CBA and look for loopholes in, like, when it comes to cap space. And he always makes these moves. And what I love about the Riley Nash trade is the fact that it was so obviously a cap move. Because he's out for another 4 weeks at least. He's making $2 million. Leafs get him. You can immediately put him on the IR, and then you put Fred on the IR, and all of a sudden, boom, you've got $7.5 million in cap space to work out. And by the time Riley Nash is healthy, it'll be playoffs, and his salary won't go against the cap. So what I also like about that trade is the fact that it's obviously a cap move. But Sheldon Keefe and Kyle Dubas have both spoken very highly about Riley Nash. And I don't know if Nash is going to be on the team full-time as a regular come playoffs, but we know that he's a good defensive center. We know that he's got a little bit of an edge to his game, and we know that he would be pivotal for the penalty kill, which is kind of struggling right now. So I think come playoffs, we might see games when someone, say like Pierre Engvall might ride the pine for, Pierre Engvall might ride the pine for a little bit. Riley Nash comes in for key defensive situations. And I don't think he's going to, like, his production hasn't been anything to write home about. But I think the Leafs kind of killed two birds with one stone here. They filled up, they added cap space, and they also brought in a guy who they can lean on for defensive reliability come the playoffs. Like, it's amazing to me how Dubas comes up with this shit and makes moves. Like,
I'm always shocked at how the CBA allowed that to happen. Like, you can trade for a guy on LTIR, and then that just gives you more cap space.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, because, like, it's not even the first time that they've done it. They've traded for David Clarkson as well to give them more cap space. Yep. And then they signed Marner. Mm-hmm. It's so funny, man.
It is. It's not something you ever think about as a casual fan.
No.
Like, you're not thinking, like, how many Leaf fans do you think sat back and said, okay, so if we really, really want to make noise at the deadline here, let's go to Columbus and acquire Riley Nash. And by acquiring Riley Nash, you can put him on LTIR, free up $2 million in cap space, and then you put Freddie on the LTIR, and then that's an extra $5.5 million cap space, boom, 7.5 to work with. Like, no Leaf fan is sitting back and thinking about that. No one's thinking about it.
No normal person.
While we're on the topic of the trade deadline and needs and acquisitions, I want to talk about how fucking good Alex Galchenyuk looks. Man, I don't want to say the Leafs shouldn't acquire a top six winger, but I will say if they don't acquire a top six winger, based on last night's game, I think their top six might be set, man. Like, Alex Galchenyuk fucking killed it on the line with Matthews and Marner yesterday. He had 2 assists, and on both of Matthews' first 2 goals, he didn't get an assist on them, but he was right there in the middle of the play. Like, if tertiary assists were a thing, then he would have gotten them. Like, because he did on the one.
Like, people already bag on the secondary assist being irrelevant, but then let's advocate for the third.
the tertiary assist. Yeah, but you see what I'm saying, though, right? Like, he's still a big part of the play. And, like, I think we've talked about this before, but Jake Muzzin, I think it was, said that Alex Galchenyuk's been the hardest worker on the team. He's also teammates with Zach Hyman. So what does that tell you? Like, he's playing in a role that he's not really been used to. In Montreal for all those years, he was always the shoot first kind of guy. He kind of played Matthews' role in a sense. He'd park himself at the top of the circle. He'd take one-timers from his off wing, and that would be his role. But now he's playing in Zach Hyman's role. He's kind of playing like that. And it clicked last night. They just naturally looked really good. And knowing that Zach Hyman succeeds wherever he is on the lineup, you can put him on the first line, you can put him on the fourth line, he'll make his mark. So knowing that, I think it might be smart to put Hyman with Tavares and Nylander when Nylander comes back. And then I think that top six is money. Like, obviously that's a bit of a claim to make, a bit of a hefty claim to make with after one game of seeing Galchenyuk with Matthews and Marner, and it was against Ottawa, but we all know what Ottawa does. They grind away at you. And overall, I just think that Galchenyuk has really been impressing. He's got 6 goals and 11 points this year, and 6 assists. Jesus fuck,
6 points.
6 points. Wow, I could not have butchered that sentence any worse. 6 points in 11 games. I said 6 goals and 11 points. That was whoa. It's been a long night for me, buddy. I'm sorry.
That took me for a loop. It was like, wait, whoa.
threw you for a bit of a ride there, eh?
No, wild.
6 points in 11 games is what I was trying to say. So he's producing. He's producing. You can't make the argument that he's not producing. So I think I definitely wouldn't complain if the Leafs traded for another top 6 winger. I think Galchenyuk would, if he keeps working as hard as he is, he would still be good on the third line. But if they don't trade for a forward, if they choose to prioritize getting another depth defenseman or something like that, or just adding forward depth in general, I'd be okay with Galchenyuk on the first line.
Now, I wanted to ask you, though, like, what do you think about Keefe in the situation with Anderson and Campbell? Like, what do we do with the playoffs? So who starts that game 1? Like,
So-
who even, like...
This is my take on this. In a 56
Is it your hot take?
No. It's
Okay.
my hot take is
Okay.
coming at the end of the episode.
Good.
So my take on this, in a 56 game season, you don't have time to experiment and you don't have time to, I guess, pay your dues when it comes to Freddie. I don't know if that's the right wording, but just the fact, like, you know what I'm getting at, right? Like, if Freddie Anderson, as much as he has been the go-to guy for the past 4 years, you don't want, like, if Campbell's still hot, you don't want to give the reins back to Freddie immediately just because he's Freddie. I think the Leafs simply just got to go with the hottest goalie. And now, having said that, Keefe did say that Anderson would come back, I think he said at some point between the deadline and the playoffs, which obviously is a wide margin. But I think in saying that, he meant like probably maybe five games before the playoffs, kind of like that ballpark. So I think what they're going to do is when Fred's healthy, they're going to give him his fair share of starts just to get him back into the groove. You don't want a guy fresh off a groin injury or a knee injury, whatever it is that's bugging him, to start game one of the playoffs completely cold, right?
I think that would be the worst possible decision.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that they got to get Freddie a couple starts before the playoffs to get him back into game form. But if Campbell is still on a tear, obviously I'm not expecting him to be like 20-0-0 by then, but if he is still playing the way that he is, I think you have to lean on him in the playoffs. That's just the way it is. Like, we saw Matt Murray do it in Pittsburgh a couple years ago. He sort of took the job from Marc-Andre Fleury. He didn't have any playoff experience before that, and he led the team to 2 cups. Like, yeah. Freddie Anderson has not done enough in the playoffs for the Leafs to really convince me that he's got to be the number one guy going forward. I think if he's playing better than Campbell, absolutely you lean on him. But overall, if Campbell's still hot, you just got to go with the hot goalie. That's just, especially in a season like this one where the Leafs don't have to worry about Boston or Tampa Bay or any of them. And obviously they would have to worry about them eventually. That's not really a good argument to make. But my point is, in a season where they have a much better chance of advancing past the first round, which is what fans have been clamoring for years now, I think that you got to take advantage of the hot goalies that you have, and you got to ride whoever's doing better. Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that, because like Fred, we know he is a good goalie. It's just he's got an ability to let in bad goals at the wrong time. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, Fred.
Do you remember that goal last year, Liam Foodie's goal from the goal line? That is that I was gonna say I couldn't tell if that look was you trying to remember or you remembering and thinking, yeah, fuck, I do remember that.
I remember.
It was I don't think you could have made that hole any smaller. I don't know. I don't think you could have made that hole any smaller and Freddie somehow let it go past him. Like, we don't have to talk about that. That bubble was one to forget, except for game 4. That game 4 was pretty exciting, but yeah, I'm okay to move past that.
Game 4 was great. That was cool.
Yeah.
That was fun. And it doesn't even fucking matter. Anyways, moving on though, because this is the Deadline podcast show. I wanted to talk about the David Savard trade. This is like, to me, this is like Brandon Pridham's like twin was working for Tampa. This shit is crazy. Okay, so
Julien Brisebois.
Dude, it's insane. I'm going to break it down right now, okay? So the David Savard trade, 3-way trade between Columbus, Tampa, and Detroit. Columbus retains 50% of Savard and acquires Tampa's first-round pick in 2021, third-round pick in 2022. Detroit retains 25% of Savard by Columbus sending David Savard to Detroit. They sent him to Detroit. Detroit retains 25% of Savard by sending him to Tampa, acquiring a 4th-round pick from Tampa in 2021. Then Detroit also trades away Matt Lashoff.
Hey, Mark.
What's going on?
One sec. It's Brian Lashoff. Matt Lashoff is a former Leafs legend. I just realized I confuse the two all the time as well. Yeah, you just brought up a big name game candidate.
Wow. Oh shit. Okay.
It's all good. It's all good. I won't clown you for that one because who the fuck knows who Matt Lashoff is?
Bro, honest to God, I thought that was Matt Lashoff. I thought that was.
It's all good.
Holy shit! Wow.
Brian Lashoff, yeah.
Brian Lashoff. Okay,
Yeah.
so.
Anyways, yeah, keep going.
Detroit,
I'll give you a break for that one.
Man, Detroit trades away Matt Lashoff to Tampa. Tampa acquires Savard and Lashoff. They trade away their first in 2021, their fourth in 2021, and third in 2022. So let's look at this at face value now. Savard's contract, he's got a 4.25 mil cap hit expiring this year, and it has been retained twice in two separate trades. So 25% and 50%. So his cap hit is being retained at 75%.
Julien Brisebois basically was just like, hey, Stevie, can you just like help us out here a little bit? Like I 50% is great, but like if you could just like help us out, you got a lot of cap space, man. Just like retain 25% of that and like.
So then his cap hit for Tampa right now is literally just above $1 million, $1,062,000.
Oh man,
$1,062,000.
The good teams find ways to make shit work, man. That's all I can say. Like
this shit is like this is literal cap manipulation.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, Steve, we're going to need you to retain 25%. We're going to send you a fourth round pick. Who cares? Yeah. You're buying a fourth round pick. It's on us. Store that one for a rainy day. And then Columbus is like, hey, we're going to retain 50% as well for you. Everyone's helping out Tampa, and I don't get it. No one wants to help out Toronto.
Do you know what was fucking hilarious? I got a buddy who's a Blue Jackets fan. And when he first saw this three-way trade break, he didn't know that Columbus was getting a first-round pick from Tampa as well. So he didn't know that first-round pick was part of the equation. He thought when he first read it that the Columbus Blue Jackets were getting Brian Lashoff straight up for David Savard.
Like, well, some people, actually, technically speaking, Brian Lashoff. What's that?
I just said actually.
Yeah. Technically, Brian Lashoff was traded for a first-round pick. Technically speaking,
he was.
Like, so Brian Lashoff in his next contract negotiations can say, "Hey, I was traded for a first-round pick. Where's my money?"
Exactly. Yeah, he just goes out there and demands 4x4. I was traded for a first-round pick, buddy. Like. Help me out here.
That trade is nuts.
It is
but
nuts.
I also wanted to highlight though, before David Savard being acquired onto Tampa's defensive pairings, first pairing, Victor Hedman, Eric Chernak. Is it Chernak or Cernak?
Chernak, I think.
Chernak? Okay.
I think so.
And then Ryan McDonough and Ben Thomas on the second pairing. Do you even know who Ben Thomas is?
No, I don't. Straight
up.
And
then third pairing is Mikhail Sergachev with Callan Foote. We know who Callan Foote is. Mm-hmm. We know who Mikhail Sergachev is. That second pairing is exactly why they acquired David Savard.
Yeah.
Because I can assure you, Dubas was looking at that price for Savard and was like, yeah, I don't know. First round pick. We've already got Justin Hall. We've got TJ Brody. I'm not sure if it makes a whole lot of sense. Tampa's looking at Eric Chernak, Ben Thomas, Callan Foote.
Yeah,
guys, we gotta get something.
That's not the defensive core you want to be heading into the playoffs with.
No, because last year they had Luke Shen, Bogo, Chernak, and I think they had.
Am I tripping? Did they have Kevin Shattenkirk as well?
No, that
I can't remember. I know I thought he was with Tampa Bay last year, but I might be tripping. I'll look.
I might have. Yeah, you can look that up. But
I'm doing that right now. I might have just completely talked out of my ass. I didn't know Kevin Shattenkirk was with the Ducks this year. I didn't know where he was this year.
Yeah.
Yes.
They had a whole bunch of big boys on their team. Chernak. It was Bogo, Luke Shen, and then I want to say it was Andre Schuster.
Maybe. I'm not sure about. No, it wasn't Schuster. I haven't heard Schuster's name in a long time. And yes, just to confirm, Shattenkirk was with Tampa Bay last year.
Okay.
Yep. So their defensive core. I'm just gonna clear the air now. Yeah, they had Victor Hedman, obviously. Sergachev, Shattenkirk, Ryan McDonough, Cameron Gauntz played a little bit for them. They had Braden Coburn. That's another guy they had.
Oh wow, yeah.
So yeah, that's yeah. They had definitely more of a stacked defensive core last year than they do this year. So they definitely needed to make that move for Savard. I think that's a good trade for them.
Yeah, it's a really good one. And then Dubnyk to the Avs. A lot of Avs fans were confused about this one, but like when you've got Grubauer and Francouz, who I believe both might be injured, and their third option, I don't even know who their third option is.
Hunter Miska is one of their options.
Oh, I thought he was I thought he was a part of Arizona.
No, Hunter Miska is with the Avalanche.
Oh, Arizona's third option is Aiden Hill?
Maybe.
Something.
Aiden Hill?
I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I was like, you know what? That's a pretty safe option. Dubnyk, he was playing behind San Jose this year, and San Jose's bad defensively. They've been bad defensively for a while, and playing behind them now doesn't help your stats much.
No.
And Dubnyk's got game stealing ability. He's a big body in the net, like 6'6", I think.
He's a big
fills
boy,
up the net. So if you're playing behind a good defense and then you just do your job, the Avs are fine. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think the Avs, they traded Greg Patterson, Leaf legend.
Greg Patterson, yeah.
And fifth round pick, I think.
Yep. That was the return for Dubnyk. Yeah.
So pretty decent trade. Greg Patterson's an interesting option. I thought he'd be good for the Leafs, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I didn't he's a right-handed defenseman. I think he's got some size, some physicality. He plays on the bottom pairing.
He's like a 7th or 8th guy.
I think. Depth option. Mm-hmm. And then I wanted to talk about Brandon Montour to the Panthers. Yeah. Aaron Ekblad just got injured 2 weeks ago, so he's got about 10 or so weeks left with his injury timeline. Yeah. What do you think about that? Brandon Montour to the Panthers.
I think it's a solid move, and I think if we're following the trend of former Sabres defensemen getting traded to Florida, then eventually we are going to see Brandon Montour on the 4th line left wing. He's going to score a hat trick against Toronto.
Oh man!
Did I just wake up some bad memories there for you, or what?
We got Mark Pysyk on the 4th line. We got fucking Mackenzie Weegar on the 4th line. Fuck it. Aaron Ekblad, 4th line center. Who gives a shit?
Who gives a fuck anymore? Yeah.
And then fucking Mark Pysyk scores a hat trick against Toronto because fuck the Leafs forever on ever. Amen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's a good trade for I would say that's definitely a good trade for the Panthers. I mean, losing Ekblad is a huge blow, and you don't need a fucking rocket scientist to tell you that. Yeah. And Montour he's having a decent season offensively, 14 points in 38 games. So he'll provide some depth to that right side. And not much else for me to say on the topic. I think that was a good trade. They didn't give up much for him, did they? It was a 3rd round pick, I think.
Yeah, I think it was just a 3rd.
Yeah, so that's a good trade for them.
It was just funny though.
Florida's having a great season too.
Yeah, Florida's doing really well. I just remember seeing the quote from Montour yesterday saying he's excited for a fresh start. I was like,
oh, no, really? Are you excited for a fresh start? I think everybody in Buffalo would be excited for a fresh start. I can't imagine there is a single player on the Buffalo Sabres who would say, actually, you know what, man? I'm perfect right where I am. Like,
oh, man. Yeah, Taylor
leave me
Hall,
in
Darren
Buffalo.
Ferris.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. So that's a great segue to the TSN Top 10. Hobson, let's dive down into the Top 10. Let's get into it. Let's get down and dirty.
All right.
Number 1 for TSN, Taylor Hall. That's a trade bait.
That's the hot commodity. He's the hot commodity of this year's trade deadline.
Where do we think he goes?
Well, after my hours and hours and hours of research, no, I actually didn't do any research. This is just a blind take. I think that Taylor Hall is going to end up with the Colorado Avalanche.
Whoa. Wow.
Because Buffalo is willing to retain cap space on I think they've got the means that Colorado has just over $3 million in cap space to work with now. And you know what? I just see Hall as that perfect piece to complement their top 6. And I mean, I'm not going to cast any negative spotlight under Taylor Hall just for the sole purpose that I don't know what he's like as a person, and I'm not going to make any claims that without
losing follows him. Like
that's what I'm getting
rice.
at. Yeah. And you know what?
Man.
It sucks because I don't want to say like Hall's going to ruin whatever team he goes to, but truthfully, I think if he goes to Colorado, I think that's probably one of the better teams you could play for, getting out of that fucking dumpster fire in Buffalo. And yeah, I see him slotting in perfectly in that top, maybe second line left wing behind Mikko Rantanen, but either way, behind Gabriel Landeskog, or maybe even first line over Landeskog. I don't know. There's definitely some line shuffling to be done there, but I think Colorado has kind of been flirting with they've kind of been flirting with a cup run over the past couple of years. And I know they came pretty close last year. And I think this year they just want nothing more than to win the cup. And I think they're going to take advantage of the COVID shortened season. I wouldn't be surprised to see Taylor Hall end up there. What about you?
And you know what? I actually kind of agree with that. My personal choice for Taylor Hall is I think Edmonton. I think they're a bit of a dark horse for Taylor Hall.
Spicy.
I think that'd be really entertaining seeing Taylor Hall mix it up with Connor McDavid. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And like as a Leaf fan, that terrifies the hell out of me. But like we've got Tavares, Matthews, Nylander, Marner. We're fine. Bring it to us. We can take it. But the one thing I wanted to say though is Colorado currently has 1.8 million in current cap space. So they're going to have to shed some salary, but I think one of the pieces that could help them is by trading Brandon Saad along with like probably a first round pick. It's going to be a late round first pick, and this draft is a little weaker, so they could probably attach pick Brandon Saad. But the issue is he's got a modified no trade clause. So never mind.
Imagine, hey, so we're gonna trade you. How does Buffalo sound? They've been having a pretty good season. They have their shit together.
No.
Okay, yeah, maybe not Brandon Saad. That actually kind of throws a wrench into my take as well. I don't know who they'd move out to. You know what? I'm sticking to it. I already said it. Taylor Hall to Colorado. You heard it here first.
Yeah,
I will not be answering any further questions.
They could probably trade Tyson Jost. I'm not sure.
Jost will be on the block for sure, but I don't think he's making that much.
Because like, he just has not panned out how Colorado wanted him to. Because he's a top 10 pick, right? Top 11?
Yeah.
11th overall?
He was 10th overall.
Okay, so there you go. So I don't know. If I'm Colorado, I'm looking at any way means of bringing in Taylor Hall. Yeah. So and then next up, we've got Mike Hoffman, who by reports is supposedly heading to the North Division. What do you make of that? Who do you think he goes to?
So I'm going to make a last minute change here on, I originally had him going to Montreal, but I think Montreal is more or less going to be looking for a defenseman. I'm looking at their defensive core right now and it's looking pretty thin. So I think if anything, Montreal is going to trade for a defenseman. So I am going to follow up your Taylor Hall to Edmonton pick with a Mike Hoffman to Edmonton pick.
Oh,
I think Hoffman's been having a good season. He's got 23 points in 37 games so far, and I think he could slot in alongside of either Connor McDavid or Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Leon Draisaitl. I think you can put him anywhere in that top 6 and he'll thrive. So that's my pick. What about
honestly,
you?
that's a pretty good pick. It's hard to say. Like, I want to say like one of these guys. I think this trade deadline is going to be weird. In some ways that certain teams will probably just like certain teams that aren't necessarily like playoff contenders. I think they might start buying at the deadline. Like, honestly, I think a team like Buffalo should start trying to get some of these guys and just trying to convince them to be on their team. Cause Buffalo has a lot of expiring contracts. I think let's take a quick look at Buffalo. I'm not saying Hoffman goes to Buffalo. I'm simply saying Buffalo needs to look at buying certain players. I'm not sure if Hoffman makes sense.
No,
but maybe to try and keep him for next year so that they've got someone to help out Eichel. Because trading Eichel's not the answer. Like if he's going north, I think Montreal makes sense because like we're saying, look at like Brendan Gallagher's out for weeks. He's out for 6 weeks, I think. So
yes, he is. That's actually a very good point. So there could be He could be. Like I said, he still could be an option for Montreal, but I don't know. I think it's more likely to be to Edmonton in this case.
Because like
Corey Perry on the first line. Yeah, I'm looking at the same thing you are. I don't know if you don't want that.
You don't want that.
Perry's been
actually though, I really think Montreal should look at acquiring another center. I'm not so sold on Nick Suzuki at number 1. I think it might turn out to be like another Max Domi situation where it's like, yeah, he's got a lot of skill. He's got a lot of like energy in the tank, but how does he match up against those other number 1 centermen? He's not that big, not that physical. He's got some gumption. He's got some wheels. He's got a lot of skill. Like he's got a high IQ, but like, I don't know if Montreal can let themselves be sold on Nick Suzuki. So acquiring another winger from Montreal, I'm not sure. I think Hoffman makes a lot of sense for Montreal because Corey Perry on the first line is just, that's wrong.
You don't want that.
You don't want that.
No.
So honestly, I don't like agreeing, but Montreal makes sense.
Well, you're not agreeing because I changed.
Oh no, you said Edmonton,
so you're good.
I'm gonna say Montreal. Yeah,
Montreal's your final option.
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
All right, so next up is Nick Foligno. Where do we think Nick Foligno goes?
The Toronto Maple Leafs. That's my pick, and here's why.
I like it. I like it a lot.
We always talk about how Kyle Dubas and Rob Blake are best buddies because they made the Muzzin trade a couple years ago. They made the Jack Campbell, Kyle Clifford trade last year. I think we're kind of forgetting in the mix of all this Kyle Dubas, Rob Blake friendship, right? Friendship business right here. I think what we're missing is that Dubas also has a bit of a relationship with Jarmo for Columbus. And I think that in making that move for Riley Nash a couple days ago, you have to imagine we touched on before how that was obviously a cap move for the Leafs.
Yeah.
But I think there may have been more to that discussion. And I know that Sheldon Keefe was quoted as saying that they want to fill up that dressing room with leaders. And we all know that Nick Foligno is the type of guy who will throw himself in front of a bullet for the team. He's a captain. He plays hard. And they now have the cap space to acquire him. And he's the type of guy that you could put him, he'd likely be in the middle 6. But if push came to shove and if he was really struggling offensively, you could still have him on the 4th line. And I think I don't think they'd want him there, but the way I see it, the Leafs are trying to really establish a culture that doesn't, and they're trying to establish a culture and a mantra where they don't take their foot off the gas in the playoffs.
No, yeah,
and
Foligno is pedal to the metal, man.
We saw what Nick Foligno did against Toronto in the bubble last year. Maybe he wasn't the best offensive player they had, but he was right in the middle of every single scrum. He was forechecking. He was all over the place. And I think he's just the perfect guy to acquire the Leafs and just further add to that culture, bringing in guys like Thornton, Simmons, Bogosian, guys that won't let up and guys that have been there before. So that's my pick. I think Nick Foligno might be a Toronto Maple Leaf tomorrow. So who's your pick? Where do you think he's going?
And you really sold me on that because, like, I agree. I'm looking at his stats right now. He's a middle 6 guy. Columbus, John Tortorella fucking loves Nick Foligno because I'm looking at his last 5 games. Foligno 3 games ago for himself, not Columbus's last 3 games, but Foligno's last 3 games against Florida, he played 22 minutes.
Yeah.
And then like 20 minutes against Tampa.
It's probably not like, you probably don't want to have him playing that much.
That's the thing. He won't play that much with Toronto, but for what Keefe will use him for, he's going to be phenomenal for the team. He's a high character guy, high physicality. He's great defensively. And he's like, I think he's a great fit for Toronto. But here's the thing with Columbus. You don't want to trade away your high character guys for the dressing room if you're going to go into a rebuild. You need guys like Foligno for Seth Jones and Werenski for the high potential building blocks of your franchise. You want Foligno around the team for when you're rebuilding. Mm-hmm. Now that said, I think Dubas should try and acquire Foligno, but if the price is like a first round pick, I'm not doing it.
No, I don't think they would trade a first-round pick for him, but I do think that I don't think Columbus would ask for a first-round pick for him either. I mean,
apparently the reported price is a first-round pick
for Foligno straight up. I remember reading something like that, but I didn't know if it was for him or it was a package for him and Boone Jenner.
Like if you can, there's the thing. There's a thought right there. If you can give me Boone and Nick together, and then you retain their salary. Sure, let's talk.
That's a great move, yeah.
Let's talk.
So
I can do it.
Do you have a final answer on Foligno? Do you think he's going to Toronto as well now that I've made my pitch?
Yeah, honestly, oh man, like I said previously, I don't like agreeing, but Toronto is a really good spot. Like I appreciate Kerfoot. I like him. I like him, but I'm not happy with him. You know? And I think the whole like third line shutdown centerman thing is a little archaic, but in this sense, I think he really fits what the Toronto Maple Leafs are trying to go for this year and who they've acquired. So
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that one. So then moving on, your boy at number 4, Alex Iafallo.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't want to say that everybody is going to Toronto because that makes me look like a fucking Homer Leaf fan. But I think that if the Leafs were to make a move with Columbus and if Kerfoot would be going back the other way, I think I could see Alex Iafallo ending up in Toronto as well. But I will succeed that by saying that I only see that happening if the Leafs are to make a move for another forward, whether it's Foligno or someone else, and they ship Kerfoot out. Because if you keep Kerfoot and then you bring in a guy like Foligno, you don't have space for a guy like Iafallo at that point. But if it doesn't end up being Toronto, I think he could end up in Pittsburgh. I could see him fitting in really well with Pittsburgh's system. They're looking for a forward, and he's the type of guy that, like I said, he was playing alongside of Anze Kopitar at the start of the year. I'm not sure if he still is, but he was playing with Kopitar for a while. Kopitar's having a hell of a season, and he's one of those guys who can fit in on the top line, but he's best fit probably second, third line. And I know that's I'm kind of bending the rules here, but for Iafallo, my final answer will be Toronto if they move Kerfoot, Pittsburgh if they don't. So that's my take. What about you?
Yeah, the one thing though is apparently Elliot Friedman was reporting that Iafallo might be asking for a 5x4 contract extension, like $5 million for 4 years.
Right. But
so for me, if he were to sign that contract, there's no way I'm trading for him.
Oh, if
Toronto couldn't afford that next year.
Well, no, he's not going to. I don't think he'll be signing that contract before the deadline. I think if the Leafs acquire him, they're going to be using him simply put as a rental. Yep. And then I could see him going back to LA and signing that contract because they do have some exciting prospects in their system. Like they're an up and coming team at this point, I'd say. Feels weird to call them an up and coming team after they just won the cup in 2014. But like they're kind of on the upswing. They have a good crop of solid prospects. And like I said, I could see him going back to LA, but I don't think if the Leafs trade for him, I don't think they'll be looking to keep him long term. It would definitely just be as a rental.
I'm going to go off on a limb. I'm going to say Florida would be a really good spot for Iafallo.
Okay. I like that. I think that's a solid take.
They've got Mason Marchment on the first line. Oh, wow.
Oof.
Bill Zito loves former Leafs. Mason Marchment on the first line, Alexander Barkov, and then Carter Verhaeghe on the right wing. Nice. Very good.
I was very confused for a second why you threw in Alexander Barkov after you said former Leaf.
Oh, true. Yeah. Sorry. My bad.
That's all good. I was just
two former Leafs on the first line.
Yeah. Carter Verhaeghe on another note. Holy fuck. Is he ever having a good season?
I picked him up for my fantasy league and I'm very happy with him.
Yeah. He's a great player.
But looking at Florida though, they've got their bottom six is bad. It's bad. Matt Kierstead, you don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. Etu Luosterainen, you don't know who that is. Juho Lamiko.
I know Juho Lamiko. I know his name only because I used to trade for him in NHL 14, but
he had first line potential.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But their defense is okay. Mm-hmm. But that bottom six is so bad. Mm-hmm. It's so bad. So Jonathan Huberdeau, if he's injured, Florida's boned. They're boned.
boned.
Barkov can only do so much. Patrick Hornqvist is having a really good season, but that's not enough when you're trying to make a deep run in the playoffs, right? No. And then like they've got Chris Driedger and Sergei Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky's been better than last year, which is good for Florida, but Driedger's been phenomenal. Mm-hmm. He's been super good. So the problem for Florida right now, they got to acquire Ford, and I think Iafallo's there.
All right. That's good. Yeah. I respect that. I think I could see him going to Florida. That's an option I didn't really think of.
Yeah. So then moving on, number 5, we've got Jonathan Bernier.
Jonathan Bernier.
Where do we think he goes?
I think he goes to Washington. That's my pick because
okay.
Washington as of now are running with Vitek Vanacek, who's had a good season, and Ilya Samsonov, who has not had a good season. I mean, the record's there. I mean, Washington's been a great team this year, so he does have a good record, 9-3-1, but his save percentage is .894. I don't think you want to go. I don't think you want to go into the playoffs with that save percentage. So they obviously still technically have Henrik Lundqvist under contract, but I don't think the Capitals want to be rushing Henrik Lundqvist back. He's obviously just missed the entire season.
Probably kill him.
Yeah, he's got a heart condition. You don't want to be putting him. You don't want to put Henrik Lundqvist back into the lineup during crunch time in like the most aggressive part of the season. No. The most highly touted part of the season. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think Washington's very confident with their goaltending situation right now. And Bernier, for what it's worth, has been decent for Detroit. I mean, not much has gone right for Detroit this year, but Bernier has shown that he's capable as a decent backup goalie. I think I could see him ending up in Washington.
That's fair. I think he stays.
Yeah.
Detroit gains nothing from trading him. Like, yeah, cool. You got draft picks and you've got magic beans, but like, who's in your pipeline that's ready to take over the crease? You've got Thomas Greiss, but he's not young. He's in his mid-30s now, so he's only going to get worse.
Do they have any like young goalie prospects? I'm not sure that they do.
Honestly, I'm sure they do, but I just don't know. Like, I don't think they're ready. Right?
No, definitely not. Well, the fact that we can't think of any guys off the top of our head.
Like, it's not like Nashville with Yaroslav Askarov.
No,
right?
Yeah. Florida with Spencer Knight. Same shit.
Moving on to number 6. So we've got Luke Glendening, also from Detroit. I don't know how he made it his way up to number 6 on the trade bait list, but anyways, TSN's on that special cush. Luke Glendening, where do you think he goes?
Mike Babcock's boy.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my fucking God. He wanted to acquire
Travis Zajac for Lou and then Luke Glendening for Mike. Oh, could you imagine?
The third and fourth
Bozak,
line center.
Kadri, Zajac, and Glendening. Those top 4 centermen. Woo woo.
Yeah. I will gladly take Matthews, Tavares, Kerfoot, and Engvall, I guess, at this point, or Spets, I guess, yeah. over that. But I this is just a take I'm gonna throw out there because I really don't know that any team is gonna. I don't think there's a Luke Glendening sweepstakes going on right now. Winnipeg, why not? They seem like the team. They seem like a type of team that could use a bottom 6 forward, use some forward depth in the playoffs. I could see them going after Luke Glendening. They got Trevor Smith on the team now. I think just another guy like him, guy that's capable.
Trevor Smith, defensively. Former Leaf legend.
Fuck, not Trevor Smith. Who am I thinking? Trevor Lewis. Jeez.
Oh. I was like, whoa, he's back in the NHL.
No, definitely not Trevor Smith. I watched Trevor Smith score in person.
I was at a St. Louis?
No, I watched him score against Buffalo in Buffalo. The Leafs lost. It was 2013-14. I was in Buffalo for a Leafs and Sabres game. The Leafs lost 3-1, and the one guy that scored for the Leafs was Trevor Smith. Yeah, nice. So no, not Trevor. The Jets have Trevor Lewis, not Trevor Smith. That was not what I meant.
Okay, so
do you even have a take for Glendening? Like,
I think Montreal should go after him because their 4th line center is Jake Evans, and I don't know who that is. So he's Guy. Honestly, he's Guy. And Philip Deneau is on their 3rd line. He's okay. Eric Stahl is good. I think Luke Glendening would be a solid bottom 6 option for Montreal.
Yeah.
So then going on to Mikhail Granlund at number 7 from Nashville. Where do we think he goes?
So I think this is one of those things where you could probably make an argument that he gets traded to any team that's just looking for forward depth going into the playoffs. I personally think we might see a reunion between him and the Minnesota Wild this year.
Ooh, that's a pick.
I think Mikael Granlund is at a point, or I think the Wild are at a point where they're doing a little bit better than I think people thought they were. Kirill Kaprizov's obviously having an unreal season. Kevin Fiala's been great. Jordan Greenway, Matt Zuccarello, like they're getting production from a lot of guys that are. I think the days of Zach Parise and Ryan Suter being the core are over. I think this younger core is starting to take over, and they're in a position now where they could. I don't know if they'll go far in the playoffs, but I think they'll at least make some noise. And I think Granlund's one of those low risk guys. He doesn't make too much money. And he's one of those guys that
contract too.
He's got an expiring contract. You could bring him in to help for the playoff run. I don't think Minnesota's a team that's comfortable enough trading for, a Taylor Hall or something like that. But They are looking for forward depth. And I think, Granlund knows the city. He knows the team. I think they could be worth a reunion.
I thought Mikael Granlund played right wing and center, but on Nashville, it shows that he plays center.
I think he can just play. I think he can play any forward position.
All three?
I've seen him left wing left wing center, right wing. I've seen all of them. So
I'm gonna go on a limb here. I wonder if Boston picks him up.
Okay.
Because Boston has Craig Smith on their top line right wing, and I don't know. Oh, is Marchand injured? He's not on the LTIR.
No, he scored a pretty filthy goal just a couple days ago.
Yeah, okay. So then what's going on then? Okay, I'm going to take a second just to look at Boston one more time. They had Craig Smith on the top line, and I don't understand that.
I can't keep my phone away from me. I keep picking up my phone looking to see if we've missed any trades.
Yeah. Have we?
For those that are listening in right now, our 6 listeners, we are recording this. It is 1:20 p.m. on Sunday, the day before the trade deadline. So, yeah, a lot of the stuff we say here might be dated by the time this episode's up, which we're hoping to have up by tonight. But, yeah, trade deadline season's always a lot of fun. It's hard to keep your phone away.
Okay, so I just also wanted to say Panthers signed Nikita Gusev.
Oh.
So there's a signing.
That is a signing. Holy shit. Okay, did you said Iafallo was going to Florida, eh?
Yeah,
maybe not anymore. Maybe not anymore.
Yeah, honestly, maybe not anymore.
Gusev has potential. I think he put up 40 some points last year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the Devils, I'm not sure why they waived him, but who knows?
He was having a bit of a down year. But
he's been
honestly, everyone's having a down year with the Devils. Yeah. So, looking at Boston, though, I'm going to say it one more time. Mikael Granlund should go to Boston. And I find that so weird, though. Like, Pasternak is on the second line. I think Granlund would be a pretty solid fit with Boston. Boston needs a little more skill on their lineup, and that's always been the downfall of their eliminations. They don't have enough skill. You
never expect to see skill guys going to Boston, eh? It's never a guy like Mikael
Nash,
Granlund.
Jaromir Jagr.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, those guys all have a bit of an edge to their game too. Like Granlund doesn't have an edge.
Yeah, true. That's true. So then going on to number 8, I like this one a lot. I really, I like him a lot. It's Jamie Oleksiak from Dallas. Where do you think he's going?
Toronto Maple Leafs. Are we agreeing again?
Telepathic, man. Dude. Okay, so let's hear your reasoning first.
I personally don't think that the Leafs are overly confident with Travis Dermott as their number 5 guy heading into the playoffs. And Oleksiak obviously is just a fucking freak show to look at. 6'7", 256 pounds. I know you like your big boys. He is good defensively, obviously related to one-time legend Penny Oleksiak. Obviously that doesn't have anything. It doesn't have anything to do with why the Leafs would trade for him. But I think Oleksiak's good defensively, and he's got enough offense to his game where he can surprise and he can score a filthy goal every now and then, or, fire off a shot from the point. I don't think the Leafs are comfortable with Travis Dermott as their 5th guy heading into the playoffs, and Sportsnet has Dermott as a potential trade chip. So I could see Oleksiak coming in and filling in that bottom 5 role. Bottom pairing role, I should say.
I have to agree with that. I'm looking at his possession stats on evolvinghockey.com. His numbers aren't great, but you're not playing him for his offense. Mm-hmm. You're playing him for his defense. And he's a big body, and he blocks a lot of shots, hits a lot, and he plays a lot of minutes as well. And when you look at Travis Dermott, he's been playing 12 minutes, 10 minutes. Shit, a few games ago, he played 8. You can't, like, what do you do with that? Dermott's 24 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is what he is. He is what he is. And, I think he's played 194 games. So he's literally at that 200 game mark that everyone talks about. So Dermott is what he is. He's a mobile guy, mobile depth defenseman who's feisty. Like I don't know. I'm not satisfied with Dermott either. I think Jamie Oleksiak would be friggin' perfect for the Leafs because if Muzzin goes down, you don't have anyone that can do what he does. And Oleksiak, albeit not as offensive as Muzzin, he is just as physical and he's bigger. So he hits to kill. So
you could see that. You could see him in the playoffs for sure. Like, bottom pairing penalty kill guy. I'm
gonna search up Jamie Oleksiak just for a quick sec because I think he soaks up a lot of minutes too, a lot of shutdown minutes. Because the other night I want to say that he played or a few weeks ago he played. Okay, so last night he played 22 minutes. Game before that he was at 24. Game before that they lost. He was at 17 minutes. Game before that he was at 19 minutes. Game before that, he was at 24. So they've got the 3 wins of the 5 games, and those wins, he's all played above 20 minutes. He's a shutdown defenseman, so he does well.
Type of guy Toronto could use, for sure.
Yeah, big time. I like that pick. Pick a lot. So number 9, Josh Manson. I'm confused about this one, man. Where do you think he goes?
I know you're not going to want to hear this, but I think that he is going to the Boston Bruins. And before you pull up Boston's defensive pairings, I just want to read them off to you. And I don't think I need to explain any further why they'll trade for. I don't think after I read these pairings to you, I don't think I'll have to explain any further why he's going there or why I think he's going there. Their top pairing, Jeremy Lauzon. I don't know if I pronounced that correct. Lauzon, maybe. Jeremy Lauzon and Jack Akan. Have you heard of that guy? AHCAN. Jack.
That's your top pair?
Yes. Second pairing, Jakob Zaboral, Steve Kampfer. Third pairing, Jared Tenorti, Connor Clifton. You remember once upon a time when Boston's defensive core had Charlie McAvoy, Torrey Krug, Zdeno Chara, Brandon Carlo. Obviously, some of those guys aren't with the team anymore, but listen to the guys they have on the IR right now. Brandon Carlo's injured, John Moore is injured, Charlie McAvoy's injured, Matt Grzelcyk's injured. I don't think Boston is satisfied with that defense going into the playoffs. I think Josh Manson is the type of guy that would play a game style. I think he plays a style of game that's perfect for Boston. And I think they always make at least one bigger move at the deadline. I think Manson's going to be their guy. That's just a pathetic defensive core right now.
Holy shit, dude. Okay. Well, the one thing is like Grzelcyk is day to day, McAvoy is day to day.
But even when those guys come back, though, like that's not a good defensive core, man.
It's not
like
enough. No.
And
Tuukka is on the IR. Halak is day to day. Holy shit, dude!
The Bruins.
I would love to play the Bruins in the playoffs right now. Give it to me.
Their goalies as of now are Daniel Vladar and Jeremy Swayman.
I wonder if they try and acquire a goalie.
Possible. I don't know how long Halak and Rask are out for, but I could see it.
Rask is on the IR, so I assume he's going to be out for probably a few more weeks or something. Yeah. I don't know. Who knows? And then last but not least, this one's a really interesting piece for me. It's Matthias Ekholm from Nashville. Where do we think he goes?
I think he goes to the Winnipeg Jets.
Whoa.
I see him going to Winnipeg. Winnipeg needs some help on defense, and Ekholm is looking at that list. Now that David Savard's been traded, especially, I think Ekholm's the best defensive option on there by far. And I just think I think the reason he's so low on TSN's trade bait list is because they're not sure if Nashville's going to be standing pat or if they're going to sell off some pieces. But I think if Winnipeg is willing to fork up the return that the Leafs forked up for Muzzin, I think he's going to Winnipeg for sure.
Honestly, that's a pretty good pick. I think he stays. Personally, I
Yeah,
think he stays.
I could see him staying too, but if he were to go anywhere, yeah.
And that's not even because of like their recent like last 10. I just went Southern there. Their last 10 games.
Last 10 games.
I don't even think that's an indication of their last 10 games. I think it's just a mistake trading away players like that, because Nashville is going to be looking for a guy like him as soon as they start winning games again, like after their rebuild. So he's a perfect guy to keep around for the young guys, just so the young guys don't get exposed too much, because we're seeing it with Buffalo. Buffalo traded away way too many picks, or not picks, but they traded away way too many players. They just tore it down to ash, and then all of their prospects got exposed way too quickly. And I think Matthias Ekholm should stay. It's hard though, because like you want to rebuild and you want to make sure that you've got the right pieces for when you become a contender again, because it's clear Johansson and Duchesne aren't the answer. That's clear. So with that said, though, I think Nashville needs to look at other options to trade. So
that's a fair point.
that pretty much wraps up our top 10. I think that's a pretty solid top 10. There's a lot of trades there. Some players staying,
and a little bit of uncertainty at this deadline, obviously with the quarantines and everything. But I think we're still going to see some moves being made.
Like Taylor Hall is such an enigma, man. Like Buffalo has to trade him, but I'm not sure if they're going to get what they want for him. So I wonder if Kevyn Adams is going to keep him. I wonder. But anyways,
if he keeps Taylor Hall, that's his biggest fail as GM by far. I don't care. Like, here's the thing. I'm just before we sway away from this too much, I just want to get my take in.
Yeah.
If you have Taylor Hall, and we've already seen how embarrassing his tenure in Buffalo has been, and it already looks bad on Kevyn Adams, even though I respect what he was trying to do. No one could have expected Buffalo to be this bad this year. And I think ultimately they had to shoot their shot, bring him in on a 1-year deal. Having said that, I don't care if you have to trade him for a 7th round pick. If you don't trade Taylor Hall, then you've just completely fucking wasted any opportunity of getting any assets for him, because he is not sticking around. Do you think he's sticking around in Buffalo after this year?
No.
What are you gonna what do you gain from holding on to Taylor Hall? Like
nothing.
If you hold on to Taylor Hall, then he gets to sit there and rot for the rest of the season, and then he leaves in free agency. Like, you have to get something for him. So Kevyn Adams has to make that trade. Now, before we wrap up the episode here, Mark, I want to share with you the spiciest take I have ever made to date.
I don't even know what this is, so this is coming to me raw right now.
Okay, so I want to clarify.
That's when I say it, but I mean,
I want to clarify before I make this take that
I've never heard it. I don't know what he's about to say.
No, Mark doesn't know what I'm about to say, and I don't necessarily think it's going to happen, but it's just an idea that I'm throwing out there just because it'll make for good fun. So, some of the Leafs' most well-documented needs that we have seen in a while over the past couple weeks. They need power play help. We touched on that already. We've heard that they're in the market for a top 6 forward. We have heard that they're looking for specifically a rental. So there is a guy who plays for a hockey team called the Columbus Blue Jackets who fits all the criteria here.
No.
And his name is not Nick Foligno. It's not Boone Jenner. It's not Oliver Bjorkstrand.
My boy, what are you saying?
He is a certain Finnish player that went 2nd overall to Austin Matthews in 2016. And he is not fitting in Columbus's structure because John Tortorella is trying to turn him into a power forward. For those that don't know, I'm talking about Patrick Laine. Laine has been hot. He's been hot trash in Columbus since he got there. Tortorella's trying to make him play a style of game he's not comfortable with. He's basically doing what Babcock did to Barrie, and it's not working out. I think Columbus is holding on to Torts till the end of the season. I don't think they're trading him, and I think they're at a point where they got to pick between Torts and Laine. I don't think this is going to happen, but could you imagine the chaos if the Leafs have Matthews teeing up one-timers on one side and Laine on the other?
Holy shit.
He's a UFA after this year. Imagine if Kyle Dubas just said, fuck it. Let's trade for Patrick Laine. We'll move the cap to make it work. We'll just execute maximum chaos throughout the Toronto media. And you put him on the second line, or the top line. Matthews, Marner, Laine. Imagine that. Sit back and imagine that.
Goalies have no chance. They've got zero chance.
Like I said, I don't think this is going to happen. That's why I said it's a spicy take. But realistically, I don't think I'm wrong making any of the points that I've made. The Leafs need power play help. They need a top 6 forward. They need a rental specifically. Patrick Laine needs to get into a system where he can play his game freely. We know that Sheldon Keefe loves letting the stars go.
Man. Yeah, and Patrick Laine is a friggin' horse, dude. Mm-hmm. As soon as that guy gets going, he is nuts.
Yeah, we've said a million times, he sleeps to 30 goals a season.
Man, unbelievable. This dude, if he realized his potential, he would be top 5 in goal scoring of all time.
Oh yeah. And you know what? I don't even know if it's that he realizes his potential. I think the potential is 100% there. He just needs to play in a system where he can play that game. Yeah. And that's why another reason I don't think this is going to happen is because you don't trade a guy like Pierre-Luc Dubois and get a guy back like Patrick Laine only to let him go after one failed half season.
Yeah.
I think the Blue Jackets are at a point where they have to pick between Torts or Laine, and if they hold on to Torts, they're fucking hopeless.
Yeah.
Torts, we've heard people say it before that Torts has gotten all that he can out of the Blue Jackets. At this point, he's trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and it's not working. So
no, and then Zach Werenski is done for the season. Mm-hmm. So their playoffs, their playoff chances are 0.
More or less 0. So
their best defenseman right now, literally right now, is Seth Jones. And you look at their pairings below that, there's nothing.
Their bottom, you know what's hilarious? Their bottom pairing as of now is Scott Harrington and Mikko Lehtinen.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And you know what? I'm starting the more and more the days go by, I feel worse about my take about Mikko Lehtinen at the start of the year because he doesn't have a single point through 6 games with Columbus. And it's like, fuck. I thought he was going to be a surefire 50-point guy in this league, but evidently not.
A lot of people were pegging him into the top 4, and it was like, this dude is already 25 years old, and he's coming into the NHL now. Yep. I don't see it. He's a big fish in a small pond there. I don't see it. Mm-hmm. I don't even like to bag on players before I've seen them play, but it's like the first barrier is the language barrier. The second barrier is the play style. It's different. It's like 2 different games. And then the third part is like the systems and the line mates. And then you're playing against NHL competition. The NHL's literally the NHL. It's the best league in the whole entire world. Yeah. So there's just so many transitions to be had. The language barrier, the play barrier. I don't know. I just thought it was too much. And for someone his age, he was just too old coming into the NHL. Big fish, small pond. Mm-hmm. So I feel bad for you, man. So anyways.
It's all good. It's all good. I wasn't that attached. That wraps up my take, and I believe wraps up more or less the episode.
Yeah, wraps up the show. So if you guys are still watching, we appreciate you. We love you. Mm-hmm. Thank you for watching. Let us know if you've gotten this far. We'll shout you out in the next episode. And I'm Lugtsy. You're Hobson. Oh, you got
to allude. I was just going to say to allude and remind people about the shout outs that we provided at the beginning of the episode. Go check out the 3 Over Par podcast with Bubba Vandermeulen, Caleb Bradley, and Alex Vanderlaan, all good friends of ours. Great show, even if you're not into golf. And check out the Pucks and D podcast as well. They have some pretty spicy guests coming up. Yeah. over the next couple weeks. So
they got some good merch as well.
They do. Very good merch. Mark's got his sweater on. I've got an absolute bucket of a coffee mug downstairs with Pucks and Deep on it.
It's huge.
So, great. Yeah. Love it.
Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Mm-hmm. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.
Take it easy.
Leafs,
NHL,
rumors,
prospects,
banter,
and everything in between.
This is the SHanaclan Podcast
with Hobson and Lugtsy.